Good afternoon, everyone. It is 5 o'clock, and at this time I will call the pre-council meeting of the Perry City Council for Tuesday, February the 17th, 2026 to order. We do have a quorum. Item 3 are citizens with input. Are there any citizens here this afternoon that would like to address Mayor and Council at this time? Yes, sir, if you'd come forward and give us your name and address, please.
Robert Russell, 913 Evergreen Street. Quick thing about shopping carts. Had an incident the other night where somebody pushed some shopping carts on one of our properties and left them there. I noticed that Warner Robins has started a fee or a fine on shopping carts. It charges the establishment where the shopping carts come from for a fee. I kind of like a little input. I know Perry PD went out to Walmart and made contact with them, and they just kind of shrugged it off like they had no way to get them up and no intention of getting them up, but they just get scattered all over town. So I would think maybe code enforcement would go out and start slapping a fine on them, and maybe they will start picking their carts up. I know Dollar General does because I talked to them about it. They go out and actively look for their carts, but it's mostly Walmart, a few Kroger carts here and there.
Okay, sir. We'll look into that. Thank you for the suggestion. We appreciate it. Anyone else that would like to address Mayor and Council? As Mr. Russell said, I think he's the only one here this evening, so. Thank you. Item 4 of our agenda is items for review and discussion. 4A is a discussion of the February 17th, 2026 council meeting agenda. Council members, I'll call your attention to that agenda at this time. Items 1, 2, and 3 are standard items. Would someone like to do the invocation? Okay, Mr. Peterson. Okay. Mr. Moody will do the pledge. Okay, thank you. Item 4 will be citizens with input. Item 5 is recognitions and presentations. Of course, we will have Mr. Davey King from Malden and Jenkins to do a complete review of our 2020 financial audit. Item 6 are appointments. Council members, as we went through updating all of our boards of adjustments and all of our boards, not just the adjustments and appeals, but we found that we overlooked reappointing Mr. Rick Saunders. His term expired in 23, so he was serving under Mr. Peterson, and so we need to correct that as our Mayor Pro Tem. So we were looking to add him to that Board of Adjustments and Appeals. Any questions? Thank you. Item 7 is a review of the minutes. 8 will be unfinished business. 8A is the ordinance for the second reading and adoption. 8A1 is the second reading of an ordinance to rezone property to amend existing PUD standards. The property is located at 1824 House and Lake Road and 1904 Highway 127. Ms. Carson?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, sir. As stated, this is a rezoning request. This is coming from Patriot Development Group in response to the GDOT requirements for the entrance at the north end of the property. The full report will be read. Well, not the full report, but I'll give a brief overview just as a reminder for the second reading.
Okay. Any questions relative to that, council members? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
8A2 is the second reading of an ordinance. It's a second reading of a text amendment to the land management ordinance to amend section 2-3.12.2 preliminary plats by adding subsection 2-3.13.2G addressing requirements. Mr. Duffy?
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Council. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, great. Well, yes, so just a reminder for the second reading of this item, it is a process improvement clarification to establish guidelines for addressing. Staff are requesting that applicants with survey plats, whether they be engineers or professional surveyors, provide us those numbers rather than having staff manually do that and communicate with the various agencies that would review that. Our thought is this would help streamline the process, not only for the Community Development Department, but also our public safety agencies. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Questions, council? Thank you, Mr. Duffy. 8A3 is the amended second reading of an ordinance to amend the FY 2026 operating budget. Mr. Worthington?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, the ordinance before you amends the FY 26 budget as part of our mid-year budget process. The second amended, or the amendment before you includes everything that was you all wanted included from the previous council meeting, including the deletion of the 3% increase in the water and sewer consumption rates, the reduction in the transfer to the general fund in the water fund to cover PPFA debt service. It also deletes the establishment of the assistant city attorney position and reduces the transfer in from water fund for PPFA debt service. And lastly, it adjusts the establishment of the budget reserve account by increasing it $21,000.
Okay. Questions, council? Okay, thank you. Item 9 is any other unfinished business. We'll go through that. Item 10 will be new business. 10A will be matters that we refer from this meeting this evening. Item 10B is ordinance for the first reading and introduction. This is the first reading of an ordinance to amend the city code relative to section 17-56. Ms. Newby?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, the code amendment before you is to repeal section 17-56, which is titled Same Phonographs, Musical Instruments, Televisions, etc. It provides that it's unlawful for any person to operate a phonograph, musical instrument, television set, music box, or radio in such a manner as to disturb the neighbors. The reason for the amendment to repeal this section is because both sections 1755 above it and 1756 in the 1966 code dealt with noise complaints. In 2000, section 1755 was amended in its entirety, and it also already addresses musical instruments. And so I think 1756 was left in as an oversight, and it currently provides a conflict that was recently brought to our attention by our police when they were responding to a complaint, a noise complaint. And so that's kind of the basis for the code amendment before you. It's just to take out 1756, reserve that section in case there's ever anything that needs to be added in the future.
Okay. Questions, council members?
Yes, I got one.
Yes, sir.
On the, what about the car, the boom box in the cars and everything? How does that relate to, you know, the neighbor be complaining, they call, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir. So that's considered a noisy vehicle under that section 1755 above that talks about the use of a vehicle in any manner to create loud and unnecessary noise. It also addresses, again, televisions, radios, musical instruments, horns, like coming from a car, voices, exhaust, so loudspeakers on vehicles. 1755, when it was amended back in 2000, appears to have meant to be a completely comprehensive code amendment, so it addresses that as well. I think that 1756 again was just left in there as an oversight.
In other words, how would the neighbor deal with, okay, I got somebody in front of my house, got a box going on, and I called the police department. How that work? Do I need, can you explain that to me a little bit? Yes.
Sure. So 1755, which we're leaving in the code, states that it's unlawful for a person after they've been given one warning by law enforcement to continue to make or cause that loud or unnecessary or unusual noise that disturbs the peace or quiet of any neighborhood. And then subsection B goes into kind of the standards that are considered when they look at the violation and how the noise is, whether it's the volume, intensity, the type of noise, is it usual or unusual, and then it goes into further examples in subsection C. So if you had an issue with, like you were talking about, sitting outside your house and the people wouldn't move, then you would reach out to law enforcement to file a complaint, a noise complaint.
Well, how would, do I need to get the color of the car? What do I need to do to help him? Cause most time they'll just run off and ain't no way he can find out where they at or whatever.
Well, as much information as you can give us about the car.
Okay.
You know, usually we can hear them if we can get some kind of, you know, idea what color they are, which way they went. Don't wait 2 hours after they leave to call us.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Thank you, Ms. Newby.
Yes, sir.
No action will be required this evening in view of the fact that it's our first reading of this ordinance. Item 10C is resolutions for consideration and adoption. 10C1 is a resolution appointing Mitchell Worthington as the Assistant City Manager. Ms. Birchall?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, from our February 3rd meeting, we brought to you the final candidate, and tonight we will bring you the resolution to adopt and ask for your approval, naming Mr. Worthington as the Assistant City Manager.
Okay. Questions, Council? Item 10C2 is a resolution to abate public nuisance for 711B Joe Louis Drive. Ms. Newby?
Thank you, Mayor. This and the following two resolutions are for council to determine that the structures, and in this case at 711B Joe Louis Drive, constitute a public nuisance. This follows investigation from our code enforcement and chief building official after they've done an inspection of the dwelling or building at that address and determined that it's unfit for human habitation and it doesn't meet the applicable minimum standard code or ordinance requirements of the city. And so this authorizes us to proceed with filing a nuisance abatement action in municipal court to be able to have that nuisance abated, which ultimately ends up with the property, or not the property, but the structure being demoed.
Questions, Council? Thank you. Item 10C3 is a resolution to abate public nuisance for 1310 W.F. Reagan Drive. Ms. Newby?
Yes, sir. The same as I just explained for 711B Joe Louis Drive.
Okay. Questions, Council? Item 10C4 is a resolution to abate public nuisance at 703 Elkin Street. Ms. Newby?
Yes, sir. The same thing. This is the last property tonight for consideration to determine is a public nuisance.
Yeah. And these have all gone through our code enforcement proceedings, and so that they're brought to us after their findings. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Item 10D is Rozier Park U10 soccer fields change order proposal. Mr. Coates?
Yes, Mayor and Council. Before you in your e-scribes package, there are a couple of findings that required us to do a change order with McWright LLC. One is increasing some grading work on the backside of King's Chapel to make the ditch a little bit wider, for that way the water can run off the fields properly and leave the fields properly. Another one is during the grading work on the fence line alongside of where the county property is at. We had to remove some shrubs, and we want to put those shrubs back alongside that property line. And then also there's a stormwater line and also an existing power line that's creating conflict in installing a stormwater drain too as well.
Okay.
And those three items totaled up to be $16,663, which that did increase the original bid proposal and now brings the total to $597,163.
This is SPLOST funding.
Yes, that is correct, Mayor.
Make sure. Yes, I appreciate it. Any questions, council members? Yes.
Hey, Mr. Coates, how are you tonight?
Great, how about you?
Just a quick question. So the storm line conflict, with the water and power services, those haven't moved since the original proposal. So was that just an oversight when the original quote was issued, or has
No.
something changed in where we're doing our storm line?
Yeah, what I think what ended up happening is once you start digging, that's when you start to find more problems that occurred. I think they hit a water main and then found electrical probably within 2 feet of digging, which, you know, in today's code, that's probably be a little further down now. So, and it makes sense. The park was pretty much built in the 90s, and it wasn't a lot of that going on back then.
Okay, I remember those days.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
Other questions? Okay. Items 11 through 17 are standard items. Council members, are any questions relative to this agenda for this evening? Thank you. Hearing none at this time, we'll go to item 4B. This is the Economic Development Department. 4B1 is a Carroll Street Parklet improvements. Ms. Hartley?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, this evening, I do want to present some downtown parklet enhancements for you all to review this evening. Before I get started, I did want to provide some context as to the history of the current parklets that we have. So the current parklets that you see specifically on the 900 block of Carroll are plastic folding picnic tables. Sometimes seasonally we add umbrellas to them, pending weather and things like that. But these parklets were born out of the COVID era when there was a need to support our downtown businesses and restaurants with social distancing and outdoor dining options. At the time, it was meant to be a temporary solution, but in hearing from our business owners and restaurant owners and the citizens that actually enjoy these parklets, we don't want them to go anywhere. And our Main Street Advisory Board is very adamant, as well as our placemaking committee, that we retain some sort of form of parklet. But the parklets that we have now were intended to be temporary, and so we want to see them be improved. It is all possible to maintain the aesthetic that we try to offer downtown. So with that being said, the proposed plans that I'm about to show you would be an investment and an improvement of an already proven valuable asset. Additionally, these presentations and sketches and drawings were done by Ms. White. So if there's any technical questions regarding the drawings of the material that's used, I would defer to her to answer any of those additional questions. So starting off, the 900 block of Carroll, this is kind of the area that we're talking about. So currently there's a parklet that's existing in front of Brittle & Co., right across the street from the chamber, and then also an active parklet in front of Concert Design. So these are existing parklets, and the focus is going to be adjoining the pedestrian walkways that go by these parklets. The goal is to create a more substantial parklet infrastructure and expanding the pedestrian pathways to enhance the downtown spaces. As I mentioned, these proposed plans would match the current aesthetic and design standards that we put forth in effort to for downtown Perry. And then we, as the city and the Main Street Advisory Board program, pride ourselves on the downtown experience that we are continuing to offer our residents and our visitors. So this is a sketch from Ms. White of what this future parklet and parklet enhancements could look like. So the idea is to explore the hardscape and furniture options to create a more intentional use of the parklet space, also protecting the people that sit in the parklets and experience those from any traffic. Also, these enhancements would make these parklets ADA accessible by bringing them up to the sidewalk line. So we'll see a couple more renditions of that shortly. And this is the other parklet area, of course, like a before of what it currently looks like with the folding plastic picnic tables there, and of what it could look like with the improvements and enhancements that we're going to talk about. Again, making sure that we're being mindful of stormwater infrastructure locations and drainage areas along these curbing and parklet areas. So there's a specific product that we would be looking at for these enhancements, and it's a Mod Street modular solution. So essentially it is bringing a parklet to the, instead of sitting on the current asphalt or in an unused parking spot or the hashed off parking spots that we currently have, this would be bringing the parklet up to the same curb as our brick sidewalks, allowing for necessary drainage, and so we're not having to mess with stormwater or any drainage or infrastructure problems there. So these are fully like drainable and things like that. The advantages is that they can be flexible and integrated, so you can add a piece now and take a piece later and redevelop it as needs and times change. They're customizable to accommodate the current situation or the current area that you're looking at. They would not require a permit because they'd be taking place in our current right-of-ways where we already have existing parklets, and it would not require a building permit because these are temporary. They're meant to be able to be put in and taken out. So they're basically on risers to make it seamless with the sidewalk edge. So they are like semi-permanent. I mentioned they can be moved, and there is a little bit of a maintenance with any sort of project that we look at. Other ideas or considerations for parklet enhancements include integrating some planters to create those borders as was seen in the sketches prior, bar height seating that could overlook the sidewalk or the street, and then additional shade structures, shade canopy, string lights, all a part of that Mod Street system. Additionally, we would be interested in upgrading the furniture from those plastic picnic tables that do not meet the standard that we try to offer and strive for as far as an experience in downtown Perry. So think about movable bistro-style tables, some that some private property owners have already invested in along their sidewalks of their businesses. So with that, and included in your full board packet is the cost breakdown of that. I do not have a copy of that in front of me, and so I apologize on that. But I did want to talk about some funding options and what that would look like. So in speaking with the city manager, this would be possible to be done through SPLOST, but also I would propose a partial grant option, which is through the AARP Livable Communities Grant and the Community Challenge Grant. This project and these grants are made for shovel-ready projects such as this one. Ms. White and I have spoken to the salesperson with Mod Street Functions or the Mod Street system on what that would look like. And with the AARP Community Challenge Grant, the goal is to create thriving, public, vibrant spaces, such as what we're trying to do here. The average grant award for this specific grant is $10,000 to $12,000, which is only a partial of what this whole project would entail, but the improvement and the investment would not go lightly amongst our downtown community. So that's an option. But essentially, these parklets were born out of necessity, but our community has come to love them and find value in them. So with that, this is not about adding something new. It's about strengthening something that's already working and already being done really well, and that's well received by our community. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all might have or any thoughts that you might offer on this item.
I had a couple of questions, Mayor, on this one. How would this affect Food Truck Friday and the food trucks going in? And also, as a follow-up to that, it seems to me the fencing all down Carroll Street on the edge there, we've got people that park and get out of their cars and go directly to the shops and come back directly to the cars, and it seems like the fencing would impede that. So that's my concern here. I've got no problem with retaining our parklets or making improvements to them, but that fencing seems like it creates a barrier that would be obstructive in my view.
So I believe that the sketch here, and Ansley, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it's also to protect the people that are sitting in the parklets. I understand the concern of traffic flow and how people access the sidewalks and stuff like that, but if people that are enjoying the sidewalks, it keeps them a little bit of a barrier from the passing traffic as well. But of course, these are mock-ups. They can be altered and changed as necessary to fit our needs. As far as Food Truck Friday, the idea is that this would not take up any larger footprint than the current parklets that exist. Maybe a little bit here and there as noted in the imaging or the sketches, but I think it's all relatively flexible for the overall improvement.
If I could intervene, Alicia.
Of course, please.
Normally, except for the very end of Carroll Street, which is over by the Swanson, we do not normally park food trucks on the 900 block of Carroll for the integrity of the businesses that are open. Should this happen, there's plenty of room for those food trucks that we normally place down there on Carroll to be positioned somewhere else.
I think I agree with Councilman Jones here on, I sit at those benches. And I would love to see something a little more Perry-ish than the plastic table scopes.
Sure.
I totally see where you're going with that, but I too have major drawbacks and concerns about any kind of fencing up and down Carroll. I think it changes the quaint small town look of our 900 block of Carroll, and I really would like to see that revisioned.
Okay.
I don't want to see that put up. I see if we're like, going down Clayton Street in Athens, right, where cars are zooming and carrying on and things like that. But I feel like the majority of times that I've noticed personally and have personally used these, it's not really your high traffic kind of, rush hour times on Carroll. So I don't want to see any kind of fencing up and down in front of our businesses that would do any kind of impeding of people walking across and going from business to business, et cetera. I do love the ADA efforts there. We need to do some work in that area, I feel like. So I do appreciate that. And I'm not against the whole thing, but I would like to see the improvements focused significantly just on those parklet areas and not the entire 900 block.
Sure. And I do want to that point, hearing your comments and concern, I want to clarify that would not be putting railing on the entire brick sidewalk going up both sides of the 900 block. The image here is just at the parklet area where the bistro tables are sketched out. If that was a concern, I want to make sure I'm not talking about blocking the.
Well, I think the picture that you have depicting putting railing all the way up on the mobile units gave that impression.
Okay, I see. Let me clear that up now that I'm hearing your question. I'm like, wait, that's not what we're going for. So these are just examples of how the Mod Street modular system works. And the options that they have. It's fencing or no fencing. Those are all options. It's not, you don't have to buy the platform and the fence. You can buy parts and pieces. Is that correct, Ainsley? Yeah, that's what I'm pretty sure. So we would not envision blocking off the entire brick sidewalk from the parking spots, making you walk down to a main intersection. These are just examples of how this Mod Street system has worked in other communities. We are not suggesting that for the 900 block of Carroll. Yes. No way would that be the recommendation.
Well, thank you for the clarification.
Yes, thank y'all. I'm glad we fixed that confusion.
So if you'll go back to the slide that has the red dots where it's marked out, right there. Thank
you.
I think this is where I also got confused because it made it look like the parklet area was not. I'm pointing at a screen.
I'm following. I'm following.
I'm so sorry. Right outside of Brittle & Co. and outside of Concert Design. When I say keep those improvements focused on those two areas, not the whole area in front of all of the shops that you see.
I'm following
in front of
you.
Sugar
Yes,
Plum,
ma'am.
et cetera. I think that's where I was confused.
So this is the focus area of the existing parklets and making sure that the infrastructure that would be improved along those parklet areas are congruent and cohesive with the rest of the sidewalk infrastructure that currently exists. Okay. Not talking about adding a fence line in front of Gottwalls and Ashley Marie's and Clover all the way up.
Okay.
No, we are not talking about sending our residents and our visitors to an intersection to get on the sidewalk.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you for clarifying.
No, I'm glad we figured that out. So that was the entire connotation of this focus area of the goal that we're trying to accomplish. Here, when you see the fencing, that's what we're talking about. This is at the intersection of Ball and Carroll Street, where there is a little bit more vehicular traffic that we see. But again, this is a sketch and a drawing of what this area could look like. It's an artistic rendering that Ms. White did. Fencing or no fencing on this street side facing can be changed. We're more so talking about, or what I'm trying to get across, is the overall infrastructure of the Mod Street system to bring up a platform that is congruent with the sidewalk for that ADA accessibility and overall enhancement of these parklet areas. Does that clarify some of those? Okay, cool.
Mr. Moody.
Thank you. Ms. Hartley, you had mentioned possible funding sources.
Yes, sir.
And you mentioned about $12,000 worth of grants, and other potential sources, maybe SPLOST.
SPLOST, yes, sir.
So we're looking at your pricing PDF.
Yes, sir.
It's anywhere from a minimum of, it looks like 88,002 to about 126,000
for both parklet areas.
Both parklets.
Yes,
and
sir.
I'd like to see both of them done. But in a worst case or most expensive scenario, 126 minus about $12,000 is still.
It's still a hefty. 100%. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So
even if
still well over $100,000, even with the grant, and I don't know how much we could get from the SPLOST. That would have to be from. I'm not going to put anybody on the spot tonight and ask them that, but I'm just just wanted to make sure I understood that
Of course.
the flexibility in financing this thing.
Another option that I have discussed with Mr. Smith is the possibility of TPD funds with the hotel motel tax, as this is creating a product for our tourists and visitors to experience while they are in downtown. So we've discussed a myriad of funding opportunities, but of course I know that that is an utmost concern of council. So I would respect any feedback or suggestions that you all have. Even if we look at this as a phased approach. Maybe it's we only do, of course, we'd want to see both parklets done, but maybe we start with one and take it slow, or start off with upgrading the furniture and the equipment. Get away from the plastic folding picnic tables first, and then maybe look into investing in the modular system in the future. But of course, there's plenty of options. But
Okay, I appreciate you explaining that for me. But with our current environment right now with finances, I would like to see, if we were to go forward with this, I would like to see us leverage every possible funding source.
Yes, sir.
I wouldn't want to see personally these parklet improvements and then have to have a water and sewer rate increase also.
Yes, sir.
So that's where I'm headed with this.
Of course.
Following up on that, I guess, Mr. Smith, could the funds come from SPLOST for this?
They certainly could.
All of them? All the funds?
Yes, sir, it could. I'll listen to y'all debate, but I do have a recommendation.
I'd love to hear your recommendation.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Peterson.
I didn't know if that was a comment or not. I'm really glad to hear your explanation, because my first thought when I saw this was, wow, this feels like a lot of overkill, and why try to repair something that's not broken? We have a great downtown and stuff. I do like the idea of improving the parklet things with maybe better tables, something that looks a little classier and more permanent.
Yes, sir.
I don't know about the idea of an extended boardwalk.
Okay.
I'd have to chew on that one a little bit, but I'd actually talked to the mayor and Mr. Smith about this morning, that the umbrellas that provide really a great aesthetic look to that when they're up is really colorful, and it looks good in this downtown area, but in bad weather they present a health hazard maybe as well, so we have to be careful with that. So I guess that's kind of I'm kind of in support of the comments that have already been made here.
Yes,
that we'll be careful with Carroll Street, because it's just such a popular place, and it is such a great place to come. So
Yeah. Mr. Smith, you had a recommendation the council would like to hear.
I do. Mayor and Council, good discussion this evening on this item. Sometimes you kind of look back and you feel that parklets is one of the few good things that came out of COVID. I know ours have been fairly popular downtown, and I think generally they are good for downtown areas. They benefit the local businesses. They provide kind of a urban heat island cooling effect, traffic calming effect, all that sort of thing. So I do think maintaining our parklets to some degree would be good. Like many of you have alluded to, the current state of our parklets is fairly abysmal. I mean, let's be honest. So some sort of upgrade, I think, would be very beneficial. I think this is a good concept, like the modular stuff. I do like all that, how it takes into account the stormwater issues and all of that. My recommendation to you all would be to take this under advisement at this time, and just kind of think about, while staff also puts together some additional options and stuff, like Mr. Peterson was alluding to, the possibility of just upgraded furniture and commercial grade umbrellas and stuff to maybe start. Going back, it was around 2020, I think, Ms. White also in her, with her skills and stuff, put together with an engineer actually, this grand plan to redo Carroll Street. And I think now if we were to try and pursue that, it would probably be $8-9 million or something. So obviously we can't afford that. But still looking comprehensively, two things. The first is, you're all aware that we are going to be working on a capital improvement plan for all of our major funds. So before we proceed with making significant investments out of these major funds, I think it'd be good for all of us to kind of look at what you all want to do. For example, the SPLOST. We basically have right now unencumbered for these types of projects maybe $500,000 after Legacy Park and all that sort of stuff, and stuff Mr. Curtis was talking about over there. So what do you want to do with that? Is it this? It might be something else. I don't know, but we need to take a look at that. Second thing too on that is, as you're all aware, with the next phase of Legacy Park, we hope to recapture some public space out here. So I think it might be good, as we're thinking about investing in the pedestrian infrastructure downtown, how does that space play into all of this as well? And not just looking at the 900 block, but looking a little bit more broad and kind of seeing what you might want to do to improve that in the downtown area. So
yeah, just a brief comment. It's great that we have SPLOST, and it's great that that can be a go-to. But those funds, I've just been thinking, those funds are limited too, and some of them are designated for other things as well. So I think the thing we have to think about and probably discuss at some future is every time we say yes to something like this, we're also saying no to some other things that we would probably like to invest in as well. So it does kind of get into the issue of how do we prioritize those things, because we can't do everything right now anyway. So
we need to put together a capital improvement plan for all of our SPLOST funds.
Yes, sir.
And then make a decision on what is the priority of this council, and then move forward with those. And so, okay. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Smith. We'll take this under advisement.
Of course.
Thank you very much. Yep. Before you leave, and I'll make this announcement in council as well, but congratulations on being the Main Street of the month.
Yes, sir.
For
Thank
Georgia
you.
Main Street. So
yes,
that's quite an accomplishment from where we started to where we are today. So
and that does come off the heels of our in-person assessment that we did with the Office of Downtown Development last Thursday in Statesboro. We went and did a presentation on our past 3 years of the progress that we've been making downtown, and we have been classically accredited into 2026 by both the national and state Main Street community or Main Street programs. So we appreciate your vision and supporting us in everything we do downtown.
yeah. Thank you for bringing it together.
Of course. Thank you.
Now on to gyms, right?
That's right. Fingers crossed on that one.
Item 5 are council member items. Dr. Faust? No. Mr. Jones? No. Dr. Albright? No. Mr. Moody?
No, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem? No. Reverend King, anything? Mr. Smith, do you have anything?
no, sir, I don't.
Ms. Newby, do you have anything? Okay. We have a request to go into executive session. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of personnel.
So move.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Please let the record show we are now in executive session. Thank you.